Do you believe that an on-screen love story can change the world? In this video, we explore how their story transcended the screen to become true symbols of LGBTQ+ love around the world. Watch until the end and you'll see why Free and Becky is more than just an on-screen couple. They're an icon that lives on in the hearts of fans everywhere. And tell me, what do they mean to you? Share your thoughts below, because this story belongs to all of us. Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're going to dive into the stories of two names who have gone beyond the screen and touched the hearts of millions around the world. I'm talking about Freen Sorocha and Becky Armstrong, or as their fans affectionately call them, Freen Becky. These two rising stars didn't just star in a TV series, they started a movement. They went from starring in a Thai drama to becoming global icons of love, representation, and community. And yes, along the way, they gave us memes, trending hashtags, and unforgettable viral clips that have spread across the internet like a never-ending wave. Picture this: a fan meeting in Bangkok, cheers ringing, rainbow lights dancing, cameras flashing. On Twitter, they dominate the trending lists. Viral clips, fan cams, translations in countless languages. This isn't just a fandom anymore, it's a global festival. Do you remember the first time a Free and Becky clip popped up on your screen? Maybe it was a moment from Gap, the series, or a witty fan edit that made you stop and ask, who are they and why are they making me laugh? But the real question here is, how could a fictional on-screen romance transform into something so powerful that it changed the way the world views LGBTQ+ love stories? I mean, think about it. We've all seen on-screen couples come and go, but there was something different here. Something compelling. Something that drew you in and made you want to believe. And that's exactly what we're going to explore today. But stop for a moment. Imagine you're at a concert. Your favorite song is playing, and the crowd is cheering so hard you feel it in your chest. That's the kind of energy Freen and Becky bring every time they walk into a room together. Their chemistry isn't just about perfectly written lines or carefully choreographed shots. It's about the spontaneous moments. The soft look in Freen's eyes when Becky laughs, or the way Becky unconsciously leans toward Freen during interviews. You can't fake that. You absolutely can't. And fans, being the detectives they are, notice every little detail. The internet never stops admiring. It spawns theories, edits, and even full-blown fanfics. Some call it fan service, others see something genuine. Either way, the magic is undeniable. Free and Becky has grown from a Thai drama duo to a symbol of hope and acceptance for millions, showing that representation is more than just a kiss on screen, but about being seen, acknowledged, and celebrated. That's the true power of icons. They're both mirrors and windows. Mirrors that allow us to see ourselves, and windows that open up to new possibilities. For countless people around the world, Freen and Becky have become exactly that. And while their fandom is filled with laughter, joy, and even a little chaos, there's something much deeper at work. A real shift in how LGBTQ+ love is viewed not just in Thailand, but globally. So let me ask you again, what do you think sets Free and Becky apart from other on-screen couples? Is it the timing, the authenticity, the chemistry, or maybe all of the above? Share your thoughts below. I'll read them. And don't worry, we're just getting started, because in the next part of our journey, we'll be diving deeper into their origin story, where it all began, how Gap the series came to be, and why it resonated so well with audiences everywhere. Trust me, you don't want to miss that. And hey, where are you watching from? Are you watching from Thailand, the USA, Latin America, or even Europe? I'd love to see how this fandom grows. Isn't it amazing how two actresses from Thailand can connect fans from all over the world, across languages and cultures, but all speaking the same common language of love and laughter? It's amazing. Think about it. If you told someone a few years ago that a Thai series would have a global impact, they would probably laugh. But look at us now, streaming clips, editing interviews, even learning Thai phrases just to connect with the fandom. That's the Free and Becky ripple effect. It's history in motion, and you're a part of it. So grab your snacks, take a seat, and let's continue this story together. Because why? This isn't just a love story, it's the making of a global LGBTQ+ icon. And our journey with Free and Becky is just beginning. Okay, let's dive into one of the most iconic love stories to ever grace Thai entertainment. If you've been close to the global boys love and girls love fan community, you've probably heard of them. Freen Sorocha and Becky Armstrong. They weren't just characters, they were icons. But how did these two young actresses go from co-stars to the global LGBTQ+ love icons they are today? Get ready, because what's coming next is going to be fascinating. Let's go back to 2022, when Gap, the series, took the internet by storm. This was no ordinary romantic drama. Gap was the first girls' love series to air on a mainstream Thai television channel, and in just a few short months, it surpassed all expectations. It not only captivated viewers, but created a global family. On YouTube alone, it has reached over 800 million views. I repeat, 800 million. That's not just a statistic, it's a phenomenon. So what's at the heart of this phenomenon? Two very different women. Mon, played by Becky, and Sam, played by Freen. Mon is a dreamy young woman with sparkling eyes, exuding warmth and innocence. Sam, on the other hand, is a powerful boss lady, a cold exterior, but a carefully guarded heart. Put them in the same room, and the result is undeniable. Sparks, tension, and a chemistry so intense it seems to jump off the screen. Tell me, did you feel that spark the first time you saw their pivotal scene? The brilliance of Freen and Becky lies not only in their acting, but in how effortless it all seems. Every glance, every smile, every pause seems to have some meaning. They don't just become Mon and Sam, they become them. And that's what makes audiences around the world wonder, is this just acting, or is there something more? It's that ambiguous quality that creates the Free and Becky phenomenon. Fans no longer just root for the characters, they start rooting for the actresses. Of course, the journey doesn't stop at Gap. In 2024, the duo is back with the loyal pin, and this time, the stage isn't just in Thailand. It's the world. If Gap plants the seed, the loyal pin will water it, nurture it, and let it bloom across continents. From Asia to Latin America to Europe and beyond, fans have been lining up both online and in person to see more of this charming couple. And let's be honest, how many shows can boast such global appeal? Not many. Which brings me to you. Where are you watching from today? Leave your country in the comments. I'd love to see how far the Free and Becky love has spread. And here's the fun part. While their performances lit up the screens, the award shows quickly followed. Couple of the Year, Best Couple, Fan Favorite. They didn't just win, they dominated. Think about it. Award after award, red carpet after red carpet. The name Free and Becky kept popping up, reminding everyone that this wasn't just a passing trend. It was history in the making. And honestly, it was pretty cool to watch them take the stage, half shy, half glamorous, while the crowd roared as if it were a rock concert. But beyond the glitz and the trophies, something much more meaningful is happening. Freen and Becky aren't just entertaining audiences, they're giving voice to love between women. For countless LGBTQ+ audiences, especially women who love women, seeing Mon and Sam's story on mainstream television isn't just refreshing, it's life-affirming. It offers visibility in a world that often ignores them. It offers hope in a way that's incredibly relatable. And that's what transformed Free and Becky from an ordinary on-screen couple into a global symbol of love and acceptance. And here's a thought for you. How many of you feel more confident, more seen after watching their Does there make you feel a little braver about your own journey? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments because that's what makes this community so powerful. We don't just watch, we connect. Looking back at their story, from the massive success of Gap the series, to the international impact of the Loyal Pin, to the countless awards that have honored them across prestigious communities, it's clear that Freen and Becky's journey is about more than just acting. It's about connection, resonance, and the power to inspire. And one last thing before we move on. If you're watching this right now, drop a little heart emoji in the comments to let the world know that you're part of the Freen Becky family. Because honestly, this isn't just their journey, it's ours. Every cheer, every fan project, every trending hashtag, it's all coming from you. And that's the magic of it. Together, we're not just witnessing history, we're shaping it. Now, let's move on to the next, where things get even more personal. And trust me, you won't want to miss it. Now step away from the camera and into a world where fiction and reality begin to blur. You know those moments when you stumble upon behind-the-scenes footage and suddenly wonder, is this scripted or is it real? That's exactly the feeling fans around the world get every time Freen and Becky share a moment together in real life. Take the scene where Becky shows up at the hospital on Freen's birthday. It's not a movie, it's not a TV script, it's real life. Becky's standing there, smiling with balloons and gifts, and fans go crazy. Imagine being in the hospital and the person you care about most walks in just to congratulate you. Is it just a friendly show of support? Or is it a gesture that means more than words? And then there's Freen, always the protector, always the one who cares. She fixes Becky's hair during interviews, shields her from the crowd, makes sure she's comfortable under the bright spotlight. You can almost feel the warmth radiating from her actions. Again, we have to wonder, is this the tenderness of a close friend? Or is it something deeper, more intimate that they've never said out loud? What makes the Freen Becky phenomenon so compelling is that their real-life moments mirror the tenderness of their on-screen romance. In Gap the series, Mon and Sam are tender, sometimes hesitant, in the way they touch each other. In real life, when Freen's hand touches Becky's, or when Becky looks at Freen for a little too long, fans hold their breath. It feels like the story never really ends, as if the love written in the script simply steps off the screen and into reality. This is where things get really interesting, and where the fan base splits into passionate factions. Some say it's just fan service. After all, the entertainment industry has long thrived on staged stunts designed to boost popularity. Clips go viral, hashtags dominate trends, tickets sell out in minutes. It's business, plain and simple. Others, however, are convinced it's real. "You can't fake that look," one fan wrote after a concert when Freen and Becky locked eyes for what seemed like an eternity. And so the debate rages on. Is it a carefully crafted illusion, or is genuine emotion breaking through the veneer of performance? Honestly, who hasn't been hooked on Freen Becky's fan videos on TikTok or YouTube? Maybe Becky whispers something that makes Freen laugh, or Freen leans forward at a fan meet and cheers like he's just been proposed to. These moments are funny, heartwarming, which is why fans turn on notifications just to keep watching. Even in interviews, their banter feels natural. Becky teases with a mischievous smile. Freen rolls his eyes before softening into a smile. It's a perfect combination, one playful, one calm. And together, they create the balance everyone wants in any love story. Now, of course, skeptics will argue, "You're reading too much into this. They're just colleagues, that's all." But if we look at it objectively, isn't that what makes this whole mystery so compelling? If it were obvious, if they'd stood on stage and said, "Yes, we're together," it wouldn't be so magical. It's this uncertainty that keeps the story alive. It keeps people arguing on Twitter at midnight. It fuels dramatic musical edits. It makes every glimpse feel like an Easter egg in an endless chain of events. Whether their relationship is real or not, the love their fans have for them is undeniable. Imagine that. Fans from Mexico to Vietnam, from New York to Seoul, gathering online, making friends, even learning Thai just to watch every interview. That's the power of connection. That's what great stories do. They bring strangers together into a common community where people laugh, cry, and see themselves in each other. So let me ask you again, when you see Freen gently adjusting the microphone for Becky, or Becky showing up to support Freen on her special day, what makes your heart flutter? Is it friendship? Is it love? Or is it something beautiful that exists in between? A connection that needs no name? I'd love to know how you feel, and to see how far the Freen-Becky family has reached in the world. And remember this, whether they were playing lovers on screen or simply laughing together, Freen and Becky redefined the very idea of what an inspiring couple is. They showed us that intimacy, care, and joy are not limited to scripts or contracts. They come alive in the smallest moments, in the unspoken glances, in the gestures that fans cherish and watch over and over again. It's the kind of love story, real or imagined, that stays in our hearts long after the last scene has ended. So whether they were best friends bound by a rare bond, or two women quietly writing their own love story, Freen-Becky made history. They blurred the lines between fiction and reality, giving us a story worth telling and believable. And in the next, we'll explore how this iconic couple became global symbols of LGBTQ+ love, breaking barriers in ways no one expected. The story just keeps getting sweeter, and maybe, just maybe, the truth will surprise us all. Okay, let's dig deeper into why this couple is so much than just a television phenomenon. Freen and Becky are more than just the main couple in a TV series. They open the door for millions of people who have never seen a love story told so meticulously and authentically. In Thailand, stories about girls falling in love are still rare, which is why Freen-Becky isn't just a character, she's an icon. Seeing two women in love portrayed not as a joke, not as a side character, not as a tragedy, but as the heart of the story, cherished and celebrated, changed everything. Think about it. How many times have people grown up watching movies or shows where their story was erased, hidden, or worse, turned into tragedy? And then suddenly, there were Freen and Becky, smiling, teasing, bickering, and loving each other like any other couple on screen. For so many viewers, that moment sparked a realization. Wait, is this real? Do I really see myself here? It was powerful. It wasn't just entertainment, it was validation. And that's where it got deeper. Countless young people shared their stories, saying things like, "Thanks to Freen and Becky, I finally told my parents who I really am." Imagine that for a moment. The courage to come out, to be vulnerable, to assert your truth, sparked by watching two actresses play out a fictional yet deeply real love story. That's the ripple effect of representation. And let me ask you, do you remember a moment when a story on screen made you feel understood, made you feel like you weren't alone? Share it with me in the comments. I'd love to hear your story too. This influence doesn't stop at Thailand. No. We're talking Brazil, the US, the Philippines, Europe, and more. Fans all over the world are waving flags proudly, saying, "Freen-Becky represents us." From conventions to live streams, they've become a living example that love doesn't need a passport, a language, or a label. It just is. And it's fascinating to see how an on-screen couple from Bangkok can unite fans from São Paulo, Los Angeles, and Paris into one giant rainbow-colored community. By the way, where are you watching from? I want to know. Are you watching from Asia, Europe, or South America? Drop your city name below. Let's see how far this love story goes. And yes, they have transcended the world of scripted romance. Freen and Becky have stood on stage at Pride, marching alongside thousands for visibility and equality. They have been celebrated by LGBTQ+ organizations, not just as actors, but as allies, as voices for change, as trailblazers who dare to lead. And that matters, because while their on-screen presence can inspire, it's their real-life presence. The handshakes, the words of encouragement, the acts of solidarity that turns influence into impact. That's the difference between being merely famous and actually meaning something. And this is what I really want to emphasize. Their story reminds us that presence matters, not just in Bangkok, but everywhere. In every country and every culture, there are young people searching for validation, searching for a part of themselves that they can finally see. And suddenly, thanks to these two, that validation is present in living rooms all over the world. A child in Brazil, a teenager in Texas, a college student in Manila, they're all watching the same couple, and they're all realizing, I'm not weird, I'm not broken, I am me, and I deserve to be loved. Powerful, right? Take a moment, take a deep breath, and feel the weight of that truth. And honestly, part of their charm is that they never take themselves too seriously. Sometimes they say lines that melt your heart. Other times, they're cracking jokes, making faces, or laughing at each other's mistakes on stage. That mix of sincerity and playfulness makes them very relatable, like two friends you'd want to spend time with. Except, of course, they're also international icons. So let me ask you, if you had the chance to have dinner with Freen and Becky, what would you ask them? Leave your questions in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think. This is why their influence feels less like celebrity worship and more like community building. They're not standing on a pedestal. They're standing among us, shoulder to shoulder, saying, we're in this together. And honestly, that's what makes them so memorable. So let's stop and think. Why do you think Freen Becky is so deeply appealing? Is it their chemistry, their authenticity, or maybe it's the way they make you believe, even for a moment, that love really does conquer all? Share your thoughts, because this isn't just my story, it's ours. And stay tuned, we'll discover something even more powerful. How Freen Becky turned simple admiration into a movement, and how their story reached beyond the screen to touch communities, spark conversations, and redefine what it truly means to come together to create change. Let's get into one of my favorite parts of this story, because this is where it goes beyond the drama and viral clips and becomes something much bigger. This is about impact. This story is about how Freen and Becky became more than just actresses, more than just an on-screen couple. They became cultural icons, bridges connecting fans around the world, and sparks that lit up an entire industry. Now think about it. For decades, love stories between women were either erased, sidelined, or, let's be honest, turned into tragedies. How many times have you watched a show where the LGBTQ+ characters never got their happy ending? Probably too many to count. But then Gap the series came along, and suddenly the narrative was turned upside down. For millions of viewers, watching Sam and Mon wasn't just entertaining, it was transformative. Because the truth is, portraying love isn't just about putting two women together on screen. It's about portraying it as tender, playful, passionate, complicated, and above all, beautiful. With Freen and Becky, audiences have witnessed a love story without shyness, secrets, or inevitable heartache. Instead, their story is defined by romance, maturity, and unadulterated joy. It's what has made them cultural icons, and it's why fans around the world can look at them and say, yes, this is love, and it deserves to be celebrated. Now I have to ask, where are you watching from? Leave a comment below. You might be watching from Mexico, the Philippines, the United States, Thailand, or somewhere else entirely. What's most amazing to me is seeing the reach of this global family. And that's really part of what makes Free and Becky special. They don't just attract fans, they foster a community that crosses borders and connects hearts. Let's talk about fan meetings. Whether it's Bangkok, Manila, or the US, you've seen them all. Rainbow flags everywhere. Cheers that shake the room. More than just fan meetings, they're an act of pride. Free and Becky have turned these events into safe spaces where the LGBTQ+ community and their supporters can simply be themselves, surrounded by love and acceptance. How cool is that? A series that has inspired real-life rainbow celebrations around the world. And then there's the ripple effect. When Gap exploded, when YouTube views started hitting hundreds of millions, it sent a message to the industry. Girls love works. Audiences want it, audiences need it, and what happened next? Other production companies started greenlighting more Girls Love projects. Suddenly, momentum was ignited. More stories, more opportunities for romance between women and women were being brought to the fore. And it wasn't just entertainment, it was change. But here's what really touched my heart. Free and Becky weren't just beloved by LGBTQ+ fans. They were embraced by their supporters. Straight audiences, families, people who might never have considered same-sex love before. That's how they became what many call the golden couple. They have been able to connect communities, uniting people who may come from completely different life circumstances, but all agree on one thing. Love is love, and it deserves to be celebrated. And since I want this to feel like a conversation, let me ask you directly. How has Free and Becky's story touched you? Have you made friends through this fandom? Have you felt seen, maybe for the first time, because of them? Or maybe you're an ally, and their story has opened you up to love you never thought possible. I'd love to hear your story, so share it below. And the truth is, this influence goes beyond hashtags and YouTube views. Free and Becky have emerged in real life, on pride stages in front of LGBTQ+ organizations, not just as performers, but as voices for change. That's powerful, because while their performances can inspire, it's their choice to stand with their communities, stand shoulder to shoulder, that defines their lasting impact. That's the difference between fame and meaning. And isn't that what we all want from the people we admire? Not just someone who brings us joy, but someone who makes us feel less alone, more connected, more hopeful. That's why this story matters. It's not just about two actresses or even about a TV show. It's about a movement. And here's the best part. We're not done yet. Because in this journey, we'll see Free and Becky not only win the hearts of her audience, but also use her influence to break barriers and redefine love on the international stage. As for the future, will they ever decide to go public with their love? Well, that's the question we're all waiting for the answer to. So stay tuned. And now we come to the big question. The one that fans can't stop talking about in the comments, on Twitter, in midnight group chats. Will Free and Becky ever go public with their relationship? Before we get into the nitty-gritty, let's ask the question. To this day, Free and Becky have never confirmed that they're dating. They've never stood in front of a camera and said, "Yes, we're together." Instead, what we see is a relationship that, from the outside, looks very close, very affectionate. So close that people all over the world can't help but wonder. And the rumors? They spread like wildfire. But when the attention gets too hot, they both handle it with grace. A smile, a clever remark that says it all and says nothing at the same time. Now, I want to hear from you guys. What do you think? Are you more of a, come on, they're obviously dating type of person? Or a, let's not jump to conclusions type? Leave your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to know. And while you're at it, let me know where you're watching from. Last time we had friends from Mexico, Brazil, Chicago, Manila. Let's see how far the Freen-Becky family has come today. But let's back up a little, because the truth is, no matter how much we speculate, only time will tell. Maybe one day they'll decide to make their relationship public. Maybe they'll never feel the need to, keeping it private, just for themselves. And honestly, both possibilities are true, because love, true love, owes no one an explanation. But imagine for a moment, Freen and Becky drop a photo, fingers intertwined, no caption, no explanation. The internet instantly explode. TikTok edits flood timelines overnight. A single hashtag can trend in dozens of languages before most people have had breakfast. Fans laugh, cry, scream, all at once. And the thing is, even if the moment never actually happens, the mere possibility of it proves their incredible influence. And here's the flip side. What if they never confirmed anything? If they chose to remain ambiguous, living in that beautiful gray space between friendship and something more? Would that really change how we feel about them? I don't think so, because part of the power of their story is the mystery. The line blurs between fiction and reality, between Mon and Sam on screen and Freen and Becky off. That playful ambiguity, it's the spark that keeps fans arguing into the wee hours of the night, the catalyst for fanfics and edits, the thing that makes every smile and glance feel like a hidden clue in a puzzle we'll never fully solve. And let's be honest, a lot of us grew up not seeing ourselves in love stories. When LGBTQ+ characters were featured, their love stories were often hidden, erased, or left to suffer. Then came Freen and Becky. What they brought to the table was more than just a storyline on screen. It was of tenderness, joy. For countless women who love women and for the LGBTQ+ community at large, it's not about labels, it's about finally being seen. And that kind of representation isn't just entertaining, it's life-changing. So here's what I really want you to remember. Whether Freen and Becky came out or not, they did something incredible. They became symbols of love, of hope, of visibility. They showed us that intimacy, care, and joy can exist on screen and off, not as a joke, not as a sideline, but as something to be cherished. And that matters. How do you feel about that? Do you want them to go public with their relationship someday? Or do you think the mystery is part of the magic? Share your thoughts below. I'll read them. Because at the end of the day, whether Freen-Becky keeps it private or goes public, the truth remains. They made history. They gave us a story worth telling, a story worth believing. And that's why they're not just actors, not just co-stars. They're living proof that love, however defined, can inspire, connect, and transform. And here's the truth. Definitions may fade, and rumors may rise and fall, but the impact remains. Freen and Becky have given us more than just a performance. They have become symbols of courage and presence, reminding the world that love in all its forms deserves to be seen, celebrated, and appreciated. So take a deep breath, hold on to that hope, and let it remind you that this is not the end. It is the beginning of something greater. And when the next chapter unfolds, we will be here together to witness it. Thank you for staying with us through this journey. If this story touched your heart or reminded you of the beauty of love in any form, don't forget to subscribe and join our community. Together, we'll continue to celebrate stories that inspire, connect, and remind us that love, truly, has no boundaries. See you in the next video. Two women lock eyes, and the whole country holds its breath. This wasn't hype, not PR. It was raw. Undeniable. History in the making. For years, boys' love ruled. Girls' love, buried, ignored, too risky. Then came Lingworm. Two actresses who weren't supposed to be legends, but who turned silence into a roar. So let me ask you, are they just acting, or is this the start of a new era? Tell me in the comments. Two women enter the frame, Ling Ling Kwong and Orm Kornafat. Their eyes meet and time stands still. You can feel it. a spark, an undeniable attraction deep in your chest. This is more than a scene, more than a fleeting moment. This is history in the making. Welcome to Lingorm's story. But before we dive in, tell me, where are you watching from? Are you watching from Bangkok, Los Angeles, or maybe somewhere completely unexpected? Leave a comment because trust me, this isn't just a Thai story. This is a story that transcends borders, transcends languages, transcends hearts. Our Secret wasn't just any show, it was a landmark. The first Girls' Love series aired nationwide on Thailand's Channel 3. That alone was a turning point. For years, Boys' Love dominated primetime, while Girls' Love was relegated to the margins, low budget, niche, almost unrecognizable. Then Ling and Orm came along, and everything changed. And it was explosive. Their chemistry didn't feel staged or rehearsed. The weight of Ling's steady gaze, Orm's quiet smile, the silent, meaningful moments, those fleeting moments were more powerful than any dialogue. You know, with some actors, you can see their acting. With Ling Orm, you don't see it. You believe it. They are so real that fans around the world wonder, are we watching a performance or witnessing something beyond it? Tell me the truth. Did you feel that way? Or was it just me waking up at 2 a.m., screaming at the screen, clutching a bag of popcorn like it was the only thing keeping me from drowning in all this emotion? The truth is, Boys' Love dramas have built empires. Billion-dollar fandoms, sold-out tours, actors with millions of followers per post. Girls' Love? Always left behind. Until Ling and Orm broke the rules. Almost overnight, Our Secret became more than just a drama. It became a statement. Hashtags like #LingOrm exploded on Twitter, TikTok, and Weibo. Fan edits not only went viral, they skyrocketed to millions of views. And suddenly, from Vietnam to China, Korea to the Philippines, even across the United States, audiences were watching the Girls' Love series as it were the latest global blockbuster. Fans have dubbed them the Girls' Love couple with the ultimate visuals. They're the Gucci of Girls' Love, the iPhone Pro Max of love stories. Sophisticated, powerful, iconic, and yes, everyone wants to be a part of them. But it's not just about looks. It's about timing. The world is ready. Audiences are craving a Girls' Love couple that can stand shoulder to shoulder with the biggest stars of Boys' Love. Ling Orm may not be the first Girls' Love couple, but they are the first to truly explode on the international stage. This is where the story really gets interesting. Even when the cameras stop rolling, the magic between them doesn't fade. Ling and Orm don't back down. Instead, they step forward, showing up at fan meetings with natural laughter, eyes so sincere that it no longer looks like a performance but a pure connection. In Vietnam, they are warmly welcomed as K-pop idols. In China, their images dominate social media, constantly present in cultural conversations. And at the 2025 Weibo Gala, they don't just attend. They are honored, immortalized in photos, and celebrated as phenomena. Nothing is by chance. This is what happens when two actresses transcend their profession. They are no longer just performers, they become icons. Let's pause because this is about more than buzz or fame. For countless young queer women, especially across Asia, Ling Orm carries a weight that goes far beyond the screen. Imagine a teenage girl living in a quiet town, too scared to whisper, "I like girls." Then imagine turning on the television and witnessing Ling and Orm's love story unfold before everyone's eyes. In that moment, it's more than just a play, it's an affirmation. It's living proof that her story deserves to be told and celebrated too. Representation is not an accessory, it's vital. And Ling Orm embodies that with grace, strength, and radiant joy. That's why fans don't just admire them. They cherish them. They rely on them. So I want to leave you with this. If you're part of the LGBT+ community, what do Ling and Orm mean to you? Do you feel, perhaps for the first time, that your identity is represented? Do they give you the courage to live more openly, more fearlessly? Share your truth, because your story could be the spark that empowers someone else to believe in themselves. So let me ask you this. Do you consider Lingorm just a passing trend? Or are we at the beginning of a new era for girls' love? One that's ready to take its rightful place alongside boys' love on the global stage? Share your thoughts in the comments and let me know where you're watching from. Because the future of girls' love doesn't belong to one country or one community. It belongs to all of us. And this is just the beginning. The story continues. Imagine two souls, each with their own hidden wounds, colliding in the eye of a storm. That's the emotional heart of our secret. It's not a sugar-coated love story. It's raw, messy, and heartbreakingly honest, yet filled with moments of healing. Falada, closed off like a fortress, dares not let anyone through. Ern, gentle but resilient, bears her scars but refuses to let them define her. And when their paths cross, they find not just love, but the strength to heal each other. And this is where I want to stop and ask you, where are you watching from? Are you in New York, sipping iced coffee? Maybe Manila? Maybe São Paulo? Leave a comment, because this is a global story we're sharing. And as you watched Falada and Ern's love story unfold, did you feel a strange ache in your chest? As if you were watching more than just two characters, but something bigger? Let's talk about the real deal. Ling Kwang and Orm Cornafat. I've seen a lot of on-screen couples, some forced, some not. But Ling Orm is different. Their chemistry is natural, effortless, and unadulterated. Ling's gaze lingers on Orm with an unmistakable truth. Orm's smile melts through Ling's walls in an instant. And even the slightest touch between them can send fans into a frenzy more than a Marvel ending. Be honest, have you ever rewatched a scene just to see if it was acted or if something was really there? Within days, Twitter exploded. The hashtag was trending not just in Bangkok, but all over the world. TikTok was suddenly a mecca. Slow-motion glimpses of soulful ballads, jazzy remixes with over-the-top sound effects, even long montages focused entirely on their undeniable couple energy. Honestly, how many hours have you been down Lingorm's TikTok hole? Don't pretend, I know I'm not alone. But here's the interesting part. Usually when the director calls cut, the sparks still fly. But with Lingorm, the sparks didn't stop there. They spilled out onto the red carpet, into press interviews, on Instagram Lives, and through fan meetings. Suddenly, the conversation shifted. People weren't just talking about Falada and Ern anymore. They were talking about Ling and Orm themselves, the women, the companions on this journey, and the bond that kept drawing everyone in. When did you realize Lingorm had gone off script? Was it a scene from The Secret of Us? Or the unscripted giggles in an interview, the way they looked at each other like the world had disappeared? For me, it was the first time I saw them laugh together on stage. It wasn't acting. It wasn't PR. It was joy, plain and simple. And that's when the turning point happened. Lingorm were no longer just a TV couple. They were icons. For the girls' love community, for the LGBTQ+ community, for anyone who has ever believed that love, in whatever form, deserves to be seen. After just a few episodes, they broke the fourth wall, stepping out of the fictional world and into our shared reality. Fans started teasing them as if they were real wives. Who's the calm, steady one? And who's the beautiful chaos? Memes called them the aunts everyone secretly wishes they had at family dinners. And let's be honest, we've all played detective, replaying every glance, every smile, every gentle touch. Because deep down, we're all wondering the same question. Is this just a show, or are we witnessing a love story unfold before our eyes? Behind the jokes, the edits, and the trending hashtags, something much more powerful was happening. Lingorm breathed life into girls' love. For a long time, girls' love stories had remained in the shadows and others. Suddenly, a couple not only existed, but dominated. Global hashtags, Millions of fans, public attention. They were no longer an afterthought. They were headlines. So tell me, if you're part of the LGBT+ family, what does it mean to see them not just exist, but thrive? Does it feel like you're finally being recognized? Like someone is finally saying, yes, my love is worth it? For many, that's exactly what Lingorm represents. Yet there's humor in the irony of it all. Two actresses stepping onto a film set to play lovers, only to become international symbols of love. Sounds like a joke, right? But instead of a joke, what we get is a breakthrough. That is why Lingorm is a historic turning point for girls' love. They've blurred the lines between fiction and reality, transforming themselves from characters to icons, from scripted lovers to living proof of the importance of representation. They didn't just tell us a story, they invited us into one. And trust me, this is just the beginning. So don't go anywhere. Sit down, grab some popcorn. The story is just beginning. So picture this, Thailand, a country where soap operas are practically the national sport, where families gather around the TV at dinner time the way Americans gather to watch the Super Bowl. And then something happened that no one saw coming. Channel 3. Yes, Channel 3, one of Thailand's biggest and most mainstream TV stations, decided to do something so bold, so groundbreaking, that people are still talking about it to this day. They aired a girly love story. Before we go any further, tell me this, where are you watching? Leave a comment, because I can feel the Lingorm family all over the world. I see the Philippines waving, I see Brazil celebrating, and the bright lights of New York City shining on me. Now imagine this, it's just a normal night. You turn on your national TV, and suddenly, there it is, two women looking at each other as if the world has disappeared. In love, prime time, no whispers, just love, raw, fearless, undeniable, right in front of millions of people. Tell me, how does your heart respond in that moment? Here's the context. For years, Thailand has been the king of boys' love. You know it, you've probably seen it at least once. It's polished, romantic, and has a global fandom that rivals K-pop. But girls' love? It's almost invisible. If it exists, it's a small series hidden away on smaller platforms, not mainstream, not primetime. That's why when Lingorm appeared on Channel 3, it wasn't just a TV series, it was a turning point. For the first time, a love story between girls was no longer considered a side plot or some dark corner you stumbled upon online in the middle of the night. No, this was a national TV show, standing tall and declaring, love between women is important. It deserves attention. And in that moment, the tables were turned. The door wasn't just opened, it was wide open for all to see and for countless others to walk through. Now, you might be thinking, why hasn't this happened before? It's simple, it's risky. Producers, executives, advertisers, they're all scared. They're worried about backlash, about audiences not being ready, about ratings plummeting. But guess what? One of the producers spoke up in an interview and admitted, yeah, it was a risk, it was a gamble, but we believed in the story. We believed in Ling and Orm, and we decided it's time. That's the kind of quote that gives you goosebumps, right? Because it's not just business talk, it's someone saying, we're gonna change the culture. And spoiler alert, it worked. Ratings skyrocketed, online buzz exploded, Lingorm became a household name, and suddenly people realized the audience is not only ready for this, they're hungry for this. So let's pause for a moment. Imagine growing up and seeing all kinds of love on TV, straight couples, boys love couples, but never your own. And then one night, you turn on national TV, and there it is. That's why this drama is bigger than the two actresses. It's about normalization, taking what was once hidden and putting it at the center of Thai pop culture. Channel 3 basically said, girl love is love, period. The truth is, before Lingorm, girls' love in Thailand were virtually invisible. After them, the doors opened wide. Producers saw success, actors saw opportunity, and fans saw pioneers. Ling and Orm didn't just act, they made history. So what does this mean for you? If you're LGBT+, do you feel accepted? If you're a supporter, does it give you hope? That's why we call this a turning point. Channel 3 didn't just air a drama, they changed the culture and turned Lingorm into an icon. Next, we'll see how the fandom exploded, how the world responded, and how Lingorm became more than just stars. They became symbols of change. Hit the like button and let's continue. Now, before we go any further, let me ask you a question. Where are you watching from right now? Are you curled up on a couch in Bangkok? Streaming on your phone in Manila traffic? Maybe you're in New York, headphones in, wondering how two Thai actresses ended up taking up your time. Type your city in the comments. I'd love to see how far this story goes. For years, Girls' Love was the forgotten brother of Asian media. The TV series Boys' Love sold out fan meetings, sold out merchandise globally, and was viewed by millions. Girls' Love, on the other hand, was always struggling to get noticed, always fighting to break through. And then Ling Ling Kwong and Orm Kornafat came along. From their first drama together, they did more than just act. They lit a spark. That spark grew into a fire, and suddenly, the world couldn't take their eyes off them. Let's talk about the fan meetings. Bangkok, tickets sold out in minutes. Manila, sold out before fans could even enter their credit card numbers. Tokyo, Seoul, Singapore, Ho Chi Minh City. It was the same story at every stop. Fans camped outside venues, lining up with banners and handmade gifts. Some even flew across continents just for the chance to wave, cheer, and feel part of the Lingorm phenomenon. And let's be honest, if you had the chance, would you line up? And the numbers? They're staggering. In just 1 month, Lingorm generated 333 million social media interactions. TikTok videos with millions of views, fan cams that went viral, Twitter posts every glance and smile. To put that in perspective, that's more than the population of the United States. More than the number of daily YouTube users. For a couple from Girls' Love. Think about it. But here's the question we all need to ask. Why is this happening? Why Lingorm, and why now? Because the world is hungry. Hungry for authenticity. Hungry for stories that don't fit the small boxes producers think we want. And Ling and Orm gave us exactly that. Unscripted chemistry, possible love, and infectious joy. Fans sensed it immediately. I never thought I would see myself on screen until I saw Lingorm, one Tokyo girl shared online. When they held hands, I felt like they were holding my hand too. These aren't just comments. They're awakenings. And that's why Lingorm's rise feels less like two actresses' journey to stardom and more like the beginning of a cultural awakening. And that's when the ripple effect begins. Studios that once dismissed Girls' Love as too niche are now racing to sign off on new projects. Writers who once kept Girls' Love scripts locked away in drawers are now proudly bringing them out into the open. Directors are dreaming bigger. Production budgets are growing, and TV networks are finally realizing what fans have always known. Girls' love stories are worth watching, and they work. But the magic goes beyond the industry. It touches real life. In Seoul, a father watched Lingorm with his teenage daughter and told her for the first time, "I understand you." In Singapore, fans waved rainbow flags in a stadium where they finally felt safe to celebrate love. And perhaps, for those watching right now, it's the quiet realization that you're not alone, that somewhere out there, your love is being celebrated, not hidden. And don't forget, the joy. These fan meetings aren't just emotional, they're pure joy. The crowd roars as if they're at a Beyoncé concert. The souvenir stalls sell out in 10 minutes. The jokes between Ling and Orm make thousands of strangers laugh. Do you find yourself smiling at the screen even when you don't understand a word of Thai? It's the universal language of connection. Here's for the first time, girls' love not only survived, it thrived. It roared. It stood tall alongside boys' love and said, "We belong here too." And the world listened. So let me ask you again, when you think of Lingworm, what first comes to mind? Hope? Courage? Maybe just one simple but powerful word: love. Write it in the comments, because your story is part of this turning point too. And trust me, this isn't the end. Lingworm has sold out arenas, generated hundreds of millions of interactions, and changed the way studios think about representation. But what's next? We'll explore how this wave is reshaping fan communities and rewriting the future of entertainment. So stay tuned, subscribe, and get ready, because this isn't just a moment. This is the beginning of a new era for Lingworm. Every generation has its icons, characters who step into the light and carry something bigger than themselves. For our time, and for the world of girls' love, that belongs to two people: Ling Kwong and Orm Cornefat. Together, they are more than actors. They are more than a couple on screen. They are a movement, a turning point. Where are you watching from? Are you in the US, starting your day with a cup of coffee? In Europe, finishing your evening? Or right here in Asia, where this story begins? Share your answers below. I can't wait to see how far this journey has come. The truth is this: representation changes lives. And Lingworm became the role model that countless young LGBT+ fans aspired to. Suddenly, they could see themselves, not hidden in the shadows, not relegated to the margins as a joke or a side plot, but as a love worthy of respect. I read messages from fans who said, "Thanks to Ling and Orm, I finally had the courage to tell my mom who I was." Others wrote, "When I saw them smile fearlessly, I thought, maybe I can live like that too." Isn't that powerful? Think about it. Two women simply living, laughing, holding hands, being themselves. And that image has given thousands of people the courage to step into their own truth. And let me ask you, have you ever had a moment like that? A moment when you see someone being true to themselves and it makes you whisper, "If they can, then maybe I can too." When the media proclaimed Lingworm the face of girls' love, it wasn't just about beauty. Although, admittedly, that alone was enough to draw thousands. It was about something much deeper. They became symbols, living proof that love between women could be as powerful, captivating, and world-changing as any other love story. And they wear that crown with both humor and grace. If you've ever seen them perform at a fan meet or interview, you know exactly what I mean. Orm playfully teases Ling. Ling responds with a knowing smile. The crowd goes wild. And in those moments, it's not just entertainment, it's proof that authenticity can be fun. When you first saw Lingworm, what was your reaction? Did you scream? Did you laugh? Or were you the type who just clutched your chest, thinking, "Oh my God, this feels different"? This is the moment the story transcends fandom. In many parts of Asia, being LGBT+ can still feel like walking in an endless darkness. Tradition whispers in your ear. Families worry about your honor. Society tells you to shut up. But then, Ling and Orm appear. They walk into a room together. They laugh fearlessly. They stand side by side on a stage watched by millions. And suddenly, the weight of darkness is lifted. Suddenly, light appears, and it seems within reach. Fans began calling them the Light. And honestly, that's exactly what they became. They allowed people to believe that visibility was possible, that love could be out in the open, that courage could exist in cultures where silence once reigned. If you're watching from a country where coming out is still difficult, does Lingworm's story give you hope? Or just a little comfort, like a hand reaching out in the dark? And don't forget, this isn't just a story about courage. Lingworm reminds us of something even more beautiful. Love is supposed to be fun. In a world that often tries to make LGBT+ life seem heavy, hidden, or painful, Ling and Orm turn things around. They show us that love can be silly, imperfect, and light, and still have the power to change the world. So tell me, what's your favorite Lingorm moment? Is it a glance so sincere it can't be acted? Or is it one of those silly interactions that you have to watch 10 times because it's so adorable? Yes, the media calls them the faces of girls' love, but to the community, there's so much more. They're a reminder that presence matters, that authenticity matters, that sometimes just being seen is the bravest act of all. And in doing so, Lingorm doesn't just tell a story on screen, they help rewrite the story of real-life love too. What does Lingorm mean to you personally? Hope? Joy? Or just a reminder that love in all its forms deserves to be celebrated? Because this isn't just about a TV show or two actresses or even a passionate fan base. It's about change. It's about a turning point. It's about history being written right before our eyes. And if you think this chapter has touched you, wait. Their impact is just beginning. Because Lingorm isn't just touching hearts. They're reshaping entertainment, redefining culture, and quietly changing the politics ember. When you think of classic love stories in showbiz, you usually see the classic couples, Romeo and Juliet, Jack and Rose, even Ross and Rachel. But in 2025, something completely different happened. Two names, Ling Kwang and Orm Kornafat, stepped onto the screen in Only You, and in doing so, they didn't just continue a story, they created one. Remember the first time you saw them in The Secret of Us? That spark. That natural, undeniable chemistry that made you forget it was all acting. Fans everywhere wondered, was this just a flash in the pan, a fleeting illusion? And then Only You came along. Their reunion thundered, no, this is not a phase, this is real. From then on, Ling Kwang and Orm Kornafat were no longer characters on screen. They had transformed into something bigger, a global phenomenon, a love story that crossed borders and captured the hearts of the world. Now let me pause for a moment. Where are you watching this from? Are you watching from New York, Manila, Paris, or even downtown Bangkok? Leave a comment, because here's the fun part. Wherever you are, Lingorm has reached you. Their love story has gone a long way. It transcends borders, languages, cultures. Their impact is proof that love needs no explanation. But that's where they stand out. It's not just that they look good together, although admittedly, that alone is enough to stop traffic. What makes Lingorm truly legendary is how they take that connection beyond the script. They appear together at fan meetings, red carpets, award shows. They joke, tease, share candid moments. They blurred the line between drama and reality until audiences everywhere not only loved the characters, but cheered them on. And isn't that rare? Think of all the on-screen couples you've ever seen. They shine brightly for a season, maybe two, and then fade into obscurity. But Ling and Orm broke that cycle. They became more than just a couple. They became a movement. They became symbols that girls' love was more than a genre. It deserved to be at the forefront. Did you feel that shift? The moment you realized you weren't just watching a novel, but witnessing history unfold in real time? For countless fans, especially in the LGBT+ community, Lingorm became something very personal. For anyone who has ever felt invisible or thought, my kind of love has no place on screen, Ling and Orm have shown the opposite. They stand side by side, sometimes holding hands, and say it without words. Our love is precious. Our stories matter. It's validation. And if you've ever felt understood through them, please speak up in the comments, because it's that connection that makes our stories possible. But this impact goes beyond sentiment. Lingorm, a cultural shift. Producers, networks, and platforms could no longer turn a blind eye to girls' love. Suddenly, it wasn't just boys' love that dominated the charts. The Girls' Love series became a worldwide phenomenon, breaking barriers and reclaiming the recognition it had long been denied. Lingworm proved that audiences weren't just open to these stories, they were hungry for them. Stories about female love told with honesty and heart. And that undeniable demand rewrote the script of the industry itself. And let's not forget the courage they inspired. For every young fan who was afraid to come out, for every audience member who wondered if their story was even believable, Lingworm gave them strength. They whispered, through every glance exchanged and every smile in public, "You belong here too." Isn't that powerful? And hey, let's be honest, how many of us have rewatched fan meeting clips just to catch that gentle touch, that smile, that wink? Don't lie. Some of you have a whole folder on your phone labeled Lingworm Moments. And if you do, you're not alone. It's the joy of witnessing love celebrated in all its beauty. So when we say Lingworm were more than just a couple on screen, they brought love to life. It's not an exaggeration. It's true. Their relationship transcended the boundaries of a scripted romance. It became living history, a testament to what can happen when art and life merge in the most powerful way. And that's the takeaway. They were more than just a love story. They wrote a chapter of history, a chapter that belongs to every fan who cheered with joy, to every young soul who finally saw themselves reflected, to every heart that found the courage to beat a little harder for them. That's the mark of Lingworm. A history that's not just limited to the screen, but also alive in the people they touched. So let me end with this. Sometimes the best stories don't just exist in a script or on screen. Sometimes they step off the set into our lives and remind us that love, all love, is worth celebrating. And Lingworm? They didn't just create a story. They've created a turning point, one that we'll be talking about for years to come. Because Lingworm is more than just a story we've seen. Lingworm is proof that love can move cultures, break barriers, and change history forever. And that's the story of Lingworm. Not just a couple on screen, but a living that redefined girls' love forever. Thank you so much for your time today. If this video brought you joy, if it made you think, or if you just felt a little positive, please do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and share this with those who need to hear it. I can't wait to see you in the next video. Until then, keep smiling, keep loving, and remember, sometimes the best stories aren't just watched, they're lived. It sounds impossible, but it's true. A Miss Grand winner paired with a young actress. Can you believe it? In the glamorous but harsh world of Thai entertainment, where hundreds of new faces appear every year and then disappear just as quickly, the meeting of two young stars who left a deep and lasting impression was not simply luck, but also fate. Faye Malasorn, the name that captivated the whole country when she was crowned Miss Grand Thailand 2016, entered the entertainment industry with the halo of fame, bringing with it both admiration and great pressure. With her sharp beauty, undeniable charisma, and the temperament of a queen who has stood on the most magnificent stage, Faye has become an icon in the eyes of the public. However, the crown has never been the final destination. Inside her, there is a burning desire to assert herself beyond the flashy exterior. Through acting, through storytelling, through transforming into characters that allow her to reveal her truest self. Yoko Apasara, on the other hand, comes from a completely different path. She didn't come in with a crown on her head, nor did she come in with a wave of advertising. Yoko's charm was more subtle, a mix of gentle charm and quiet rebellion. Coming from an ordinary family, she lacked the advantage of fame, but possessed a rare determination. She started with small roles, not very flashy but extremely important stepping stones, building herself from scratch. Yoko represents a new generation of Thai actors, courageous, humble, and genuine, not afraid to test the limits or challenge conventions. Two women, two journeys, seemingly parallel, never intended to intersect. Yet fate brought her to blank the series, a drama that promises to refresh the Thai romantic landscape by putting two women at the center of the story. From the moment the production team announced Faye Malasorn as the female lead, curiosity was aroused. Can a beauty queen transform into a convincing actress? Can she carry a complicated love story? Then little-known Yoko Apasra was chosen to star opposite Faye. The pair raised questions and expectations. The first day on set was filled with both excitement and tension. Every actor wanted to prove themselves. Faye arrived calm and composed, exuding professionalism. Yoko, a little shy but determined, made an unspoken promise. She would not let this opportunity slip away. When the director introduced them, "These two are the heart of the story, your chemistry must shine," those words sounded ordinary. But unintentionally, they became the red thread that tied the two fates. From the very first scene, there was something unmistakable. Those watching behind the camera whispered that their chemistry was more genuine than the script. It wasn't just acting, it was a connection that blossomed quietly, naturally. The director, satisfied, smiled and commented, "Perfect," almost as if you two had known each other for a long time. But in fact, until that day, they had barely spoken a word to each other. After filming, it was Faye who broke the silence. She said warmly, "You did well today. I remember my first audition. I was just as nervous." Yoko laughed, suddenly feeling the heavy wall of hierarchy collapse. That brief conversation opened a door. They found common ground, a love for the profession, a desire to grow, and a quiet loneliness that often exists in the entertainment industry. Gradually, the moments outside the studio became their anchor. Eating together, reading lines late into the night, whispering encouragement during intense shoots, these small actions created a safe space for both of them. To outsiders, it looked like a professional camaraderie. But to them, it was the quiet birth of trust and understanding, something rare and precious under the bright spotlight. The audience, always sharp-eyed, soon realized it. Social media was flooded with hashtags with their names, at first cheerful, then warm. Photos of them smiling at each other, exchanging glances during interviews, touching hands at events. Fans collected and exaggerated these moments, creating a new phenomenon, the Faye-Yoko couple. To the world, they suddenly became an on-screen couple. To each other, they were simply two women who found comfort and safety in each other. Behind all the noise, neither Faye nor Yoko could have predicted how this relationship would change their lives. Under the glare of the spotlight and the constant chatter of fans and critics, a seed was planted. The seed of friendship, empathy, and perhaps the first traces of love. Simplest things, a look, a laugh, a shared silence. In a world full of noise and prejudice, sometimes just one meeting is all it takes to find the person who is truly right for you. The cameras would switch off, the crew would pack away their gear, and yet the energy between Faye Malasorn and Yoko Apasra seemed to linger in the air long after the set went quiet. Acting side by side in Blank the Series was meant to be just another job, two performers carrying out a script. But the truth is, the magic of connection rarely follows a script. It spills over, unscripted, messy, and breathtakingly real. Their earliest rehearsals revealed something unique. Lines exchanged across the table weren't just memorized words, they were conversations layered with empathy. When Yoko stumbled over dialogue, her frustration was visible, but Faye would lean in, gently correcting her tone, almost like a guide pulling her through stormy waters. "Take a breath," Faye would whisper. "You already have it in you." And Yoko, steadied by those words, would find her rhythm again. That tenderness extended beyond rehearsal rooms. Lunch breaks turned into quiet rituals where they split food, laughing about the absurdities of show business, the never-ending takes, the demanding lights, the relentless eyes of an industry always watching. Yoko, who once kept her guard up, began letting it down. She confessed insecurities, fears of being overshadowed, of never being enough. Faye listened, not with pity, but with an openness that made Yoko feel seen. It was the kind of listening that transforms silence into comfort. In turn, Yoko gave Faye something just as valuable: sincerity. For a woman crowned queen of beauty, expectations always weighed heavily. Faye had been praised, judged, every move she made was under scrutiny. But Yoko spoke to her not as the former Miss Grand, not as the actress expected to carry a show, but as a human being who sometimes just needed to laugh without consequence. Around Yoko, Faye rediscovered simplicity, an honesty untainted by reputation. The more they worked together, the clearer it became. Their chemistry wasn't confined to the scenes they filmed. Directors could capture intimacy on screen, but what they couldn't manufacture was the way Faye instinctively shielded Yoko from harsh studio lights, or how Yoko, despite being younger and less experienced, would check on Faye after grueling shoots. These weren't gestures demanded by a role. They were gestures of care, small, consistent, unspoken threads weaving into trust. The crew noticed. The fans noticed. Soon, social media began buzzing with edits and fan accounts declaring them the new screen couple. At first, it was harmless fun, nicknames tossed around, photos reposted with heart emojis, but something deeper stirred within the fandom. They weren't just admiring two pretty faces, they were watching authenticity unfold. Audiences are quick to spot pretenses, yet in Faye and Yoko, they saw companionship that radiated far beyond performance. And as the world began to ship them, the two women quietly leaned into the safety they found in each other. In an industry notorious for rivalry, their partnership became a rare sanctuary. When the pressure mounted, when criticism turned cruel, they turned to one another. Yoko became Faye's sounding board, her late-night confidante. Faye became Yoko's anchor, reminding her she belonged, even when self-doubt screamed otherwise. Still, at this stage, what they shared was not romance. It was deeper in another way. It was friendship elevated to a plane of soulful connection. A tricky, as ties might call it, someone who knows you not because they must, but because they choose to, relentlessly, faithfully. Their bond wasn't about passion or sparks, it was about trust. And trust, as history has shown, is often the foundation upon which love dares to grow. It's important to pause here, because too often, LGBTQ love stories are told as if they appear overnight, in a burst of rebellion or defiance. But the truth is softer, gentler. Many begin exactly like this, through friendship, through late-night conversations, through small acts of care. Before there is love, there is respect. Before there is romance, there is trust. And for Faye Malasorn and Yoko Apasara, this stage of their journey wasn't about fireworks. It was about building a safe harbor in a world that rarely offers one. As their fandom grew louder, so did the whispers of curiosity. Are they really just colleagues? Yet behind the noise, Faye and Yoko weren't rushing to define anything. They were content in the quiet. In every meal shared, every word of encouragement, every laugh after a long day, they were constructing something enduring. Something real. LGBTQ plus love, like any love worth telling, is not always born in a blaze of passion. Sometimes it grows slowly, carefully, in the soil of friendship and trust. It reminds us that love, no matter who it is between, deserves to be nurtured with patience, kindness, and respect. And before we move on, I'd love to hear from you. What country are you watching this video from? Drop it in the comments below, and let's see how far Faye and Yoko's story has reached across the world. The line between friendship and something deeper is often invisible until a moment comes to the fore. For Faye and Yoko, that moment came not in private, but under the bright lights, in front of cameras, fans, and the entire entertainment industry. It was the Best Couple Awards, an honor meant to celebrate on-screen chemistry. But for them, it was deeper, something intimate disguised as a public performance. As they stood side by side, the host announced their names and the crowd erupted in cheers. Yoko glanced at Faye, her eyes flickering with nervous excitement. Faye instinctively reached out to touch Yoko. It was meant to be reassuring, a gesture for the audience. But as their fingers intertwined, there was a pause, just a second, that revealed everything they had left unsaid. The camera caught their smiles, but what the camera could never fully capture was the silent conversation between them. We are more than what they see, right? The applause died down, the speeches rang out, but in that look they exchanged, they spoke a truth their lips were not ready to confess. Backstage, away from the roar of the crowd, the atmosphere became quieter, but no less tense. They laughed awkwardly, brushing off the staff's comments about their perfect chemistry. But that night, with the stage makeup removed and their dresses folded, they found themselves sitting together in the silence of a hotel room. The award lay on the table, glowing faintly under the dim lights. Neither looked at it. They looked at each other. The conversations lasted until the early morning. They spoke not as colleagues, not even as close friends, but as two souls shedding their armor. Yoko admitted her fears about the future, the scrutiny, the whispers, the possibility of losing out on someone she might choose to love. Faye shared her own truths too. The exhaustion of living under constant expectation, the pressure to be admired but rarely understood. With each word, the walls between them crumbled. There were long silences too, but not the uncomfortable kind. They carried a weight, the kind that held 1,000 unspoken confessions. When Yoko took Faye's hand across the table, this time it wasn't because of the cameras. And when Faye didn't pull her hand away, it wasn't a performance. It was permission. It was recognition. From that night on, something changed. They didn't rush to name it. They didn't shout it from the rooftops. They didn't even whisper to their friends. But deep down, the transformation was undeniable. Friendship had blossomed into love. Without fanfare, without drama, but steadily, gently, like the way dawn crept across the horizon without a word of warning. The outside world speculated. Fans circulated theories. The media teased rumors. But Faye and Yoko chose silence, not the silence of fear, but the silence of protection. Their feelings didn't need the confirmation of headlines. After all, love grows best when it's nurtured in privacy, when it's given room to breathe away from the noise. But even in their silence, the signs were there for anyone willing to look. Faye's eyes softened as Yoko spoke. Yoko seemed braver, freer as she stood beside Faye. They were no longer just co-workers. They were two women slowly realizing that their hearts had chosen each other. Love stories are often written in grand gestures, in sudden flashes of lightning. But theirs was different. It was born of patience, nurtured by sincerity, and captured in moments too small for the press to capture. And in those moments, they realized that loving someone, especially when the world tells you it's not what you expected, isn't just a choice, it's an act of courage. Because loving someone, whether openly or secretly, is putting everything on the line: reputation, career, security. But to deny that love is to risk something bigger: your own truth. And Faye and Yoko, in their own way, chose the truth. To love someone, regardless of their gender, is to bravely step into your own heart. LGBTQ+ love deserves to begin as naturally and honestly as any other love. It is no less real, no less valuable, no less courageous. And now I want to know, what country are you watching this story in? Share in the comments below, and let's see how far Faye and Yoko's love story has traveled around the world. The love blossomed, tender and sincere. But in the entertainment industry, private feelings rarely stay private for long. What began as whispers between fans quickly grew into questions from reporters, comments from critics, and speculation that filled the headlines. Every interview seemed to return to the same probing theme. Are you two just friends, or is there more? Faye and Yoko quickly learned that silences were as heavy as words. When they laughed together, people scrutinized the angle of their smiles. When they stood close together, critics measured the distance between them. Just looking at each other for too long became fodder for gossip. And in the endless whirlwind of entertainment news, every detail, no matter how small, could be twisted into a story. The pressure was sometimes overwhelming. Online, their fan community began to splinter. Some cheered them on, declaring their relationship a symbol of representation. Others dismissed it, insisting it was just fan service, or worse, attacking them with vitriolic words. In those moments, it would have been easier to hide, to deny, to retreat into comfort, to pretend that nothing existed between them. But that was not their way. Instead, they chose a quieter form of protest. They simply lived together, letting their actions speak for them. On set, they worked with unwavering professionalism, delivering performances so real and raw that the audience could feel the depth of their connection. Off-set, they continued to share small gestures of care. An umbrella for each other when it rained, a hand gently placed on a shoulder, an affectionate look that lasted too long to be missed. And it wasn't just fans who noticed. Directors, producers, even their co-stars began to realize that what Faye and Yoko brought to a scene wasn't just technique, it was presence. It was authenticity. Their chemistry didn't have to be manufactured, and in an industry built on illusion, such authenticity was rare. It became their silent shield, proof that what they shared was worth more than gossip. It was in these subtle yet powerful gestures that many in the LGBTQ+ community saw themselves reflected. For those who had spent years hiding their feelings, afraid of being seen, Faye and Yoko's quiet sincerity felt like validation. They didn't wave rainbow flags on magazine covers, but by letting their humanity shine through, they gave courage to others. Of course, the media kept chasing. Headlines asked, will they admit it? Talk shows searched for answers. And yet Faye and Yoko remained silent. Not out of shame, but out of possessiveness. Their love, fragile and new, belonged to them first and foremost, not to the cameras, not to the tabloids, not to a drama-hungry public. It wasn't always easy. There were days when the weight of expectations weighed heavily, and days when negative comments dug into her mind. Yoko, still young, worried that the industry would turn its back on her. Faye, more experienced but also tired of the constant scrutiny, feared that her personal life would overshadow the work she was trying to build. But in each other, they found resilience. Faye, with years of overcoming judgment as a beauty queen, reminded Yoko to focus on her career, to let her work prove its worth. Yoko, in turn, calmed Faye, reminding her that beyond the spotlight, there was a life worth living, simple, joyful, and without regrets. Through this balance, they created a quiet revolution. They didn't have to shout to be heard. Their love, expressed through their eyes and silence, their art and their honesty, spoke louder than any press release, and slowly people began to understand. Sometimes the most powerful statement is not made with words, but with the courage to live unapologetically. LGBTQ+ community, their story has become a mirror and a light. It reminds people that even in spaces filled with judgment, love can still exist. That even in industries obsessed with image, authenticity can still be powerful. And that even in silence, a declaration can be made. We exist. We love. And that is enough. Same-sex love is never just a private affair between two hearts. It becomes a light in the darkness, guiding those still trapped in fear to the courage to live openly and love freely. It began on screen, two women cast to tell a story. Yet what unfolded in Blank the series was more than fiction. It became a phenomenon. Faye Malisorn, already a household name since her triumph at Miss Grand Thailand 2016, brought elegance and gravitas to her role. Yoko Apasara, still early in her career, infused her character with raw honesty. Together, they delivered a chemistry so authentic that audiences stopped asking whether they were acting and started believing they were simply being. The response was immediate. Fan-created edits flooded TikTok and Twitter. A glance held too long, a laugh shared behind the scenes, a touch that lingered. These moments became viral clips set to love songs. Their names, joined by a hyphen, began trending not only in Thailand but across Asia. For fans, they weren't just actresses, they were the embodiment of a love story that felt both real and revolutionary. Fashion and media took notice. Faye and Yoko appeared in glossy spreads and brand campaigns, not as props but as partners. Dressed in couture gowns or minimalist suits, they stood side by side as equals, radiating not just beauty, but a message. For an industry accustomed to promoting traditional couples, their pairing was radical in its simplicity. Two women celebrated for their connection without apology. What once seemed like a marketing gamble quickly proved to be a cultural breakthrough. Their influence wasn't confined to the lens. At fan meetings, thousands gathered, waving banners and chanting their names. Yoko's playful energy balanced Faye's poised demeanor, creating an electric atmosphere. When asked about the meaning of their work, Yoko answered simply, "Love is love. We tell these stories because they matter." Faye, with quiet conviction, added, "If even one person feels seen, then what we do is worth it." Those words traveled far, quoted on fan pages, translated across languages, etched into the hearts of people who longed to be recognized. Their rise was especially significant in Thailand's entertainment landscape. While BL dramas between men dominated charts and captured international fandoms, stories of women loving women often remained hidden or dismissed as niche. Faye and Yoko shattered that imbalance. Through Blank the series, they proved that female-female love stories could resonate just as deeply, just as universally. They became pioneers in a space where representation was scarce, showing producers and networks that audiences were ready for more. The ripple effects reached far beyond Thailand. In Manila, a fan wrote online, "Watching them gave me courage to come out to my sister." In Seoul, edits of their scenes gained millions of views. In Los Angeles, students cited their story in essays about LGBTQ+ visibility in global media. These weren't just compliments to celebrities, they were confessions of survival, declarations of hope. As their fame grew, so did the platforms that carried their message. Major magazines began treating them not just as entertainers, but as voices in a cultural shift. Articles analyzed how their storylines challenged norms. Panels invited them to speak about representation, not because they sought activism, but because their existence together had already become activism in itself. Even casual interviews turned into lessons on empathy and authenticity, with their words repeated by fans who felt empowered to live more openly. And their presence influenced more than fans. Inside the industry, younger actors began to cite Faye and Yoko as proof that taking on queer roles could build, not break, a career. Directors saw the demand for girls' love stories, and writers pitched scripts once considered too risky. Change began in boardrooms, in greenlit projects, in casting calls that suddenly included space for love between women. Through it all, what resonated most was not grand speeches or choreographed moments, but authenticity. They didn't need to wear rainbow flags to be symbols. Their presence, their sincerity, their ease in each other's company spoke louder than slogans ever could. And for millions, that was enough. In them, fans found both a mirror and a beacon. a mirror reflecting their hidden desires, their silent fears, their longing to be seen, and a beacon pointing forward toward a world where love does not need to be explained, only lived. For some, they became the courage to whisper the truth. For others, they were proof that truth could be shouted without shame. When LGBTQ+ love is allowed to shine through art and media, it transforms from private affection into a force for community. The love Faye Malisorn and Yoko Apazra brought to the screen and beyond it is more than a story. It is a lifeline, reminding millions that love in every form is powerful, worthy, and unstoppable. The cameras turned off, the crew began packing, and yet the energy between them lingered. After another long day on set, Faye Malisorn and Yoko Apazra walked together into the night, laughter echoing in the quiet air. Their hands brushed, then intertwined, not as a scene for an audience, but as something private, real, unscripted. It was in these fleeting moments that their story truly lived. They have never announced a relationship. They have never needed to. Their truth exists in the way Yoko seems steadier when Faye is near, in the way Faye's gaze softens when Yoko laughs. Fans and media chase labels, but the essence has always been clear. Love does not need validation from headlines. It only needs two people who choose each other. For Faye, the horizon stretches wide. Since her Miss Grand Thailand victory in 2016, she has reinvented herself as more than a beauty queen. Her performances, from light-hearted roles in Miss Culinary to her layered portrayal in Blank the Series, have cemented her as an actress of depth and ambition. For Yoko, the path is just beginning. Her supporting role in Bad Buddy 2021 introduced her to audiences. Her breakout in Affair 2024 showcased her ability to command emotional intensity. And with Harmony Secret 2025 on the horizon, she's poised to take her place among Thailand's most promising young stars. Their professional journeys may diverge, but their personal bond remains an anchor. In an industry that thrives on spectacle, their decision to keep love unspoken has become its own form of strength. Privacy for them is not about fear, it is about protection. Because love, when genuine, is sacred, and sometimes the most radical act is to nurture it quietly. The beauty of their story lies in its refusal to end. Audiences expect final kisses, fade-outs, neat conclusions, but life rarely offers such closure. Instead, their story continues, unwritten and alive. In interviews where they exchange knowing glances, in fan meetings where their laughter rings louder than the questions, in the way they walk together when the cameras are no longer watching. For the LGBTQ+ community, their quiet presence has been revolutionary. Representation is often imagined as loud, defiant, flamboyant, but Faye and Yoko have shown that authenticity itself can be radical. In their silences, people find courage. In their small gestures, people find validation. In their journey, people find proof that love does not have to conform to be real. Perhaps that is why their impact endures. Because beyond the speculation, beyond the fame, what they offer is a reminder that love is not about grand declarations. It is about the daily choice to care, to protect, to stand together. And whether they ever name it or not, the story they have written resonates deeply. Two women who found in each other a place of ease in a world that rarely offers it. And yet, the promise of tomorrow may be the most beautiful part. New scripts will come, new roles will challenge them, and audiences will continue to watch their journeys unfold. But no matter how their careers evolve, the essence of their bond is already etched in the hearts of those who believe in them. It is a reminder that love's greatest strength is not in certainty, but in possibility. Theirs is not a closed book, it is a story still being written, and each new chapter holds the hope of greater freedom, deeper trust, and lasting joy. Love stories rarely end with a neat full stop. They are living, breathing journeys that continue to unfold, quietly shaping the people within them and those who witness them. For Faye Malisorn and Yoko Apasra, what began as two strangers cast together has become something far greater. A reminder that connection, trust, and love, no matter who it is between, can transcend scripts, cameras, and even the harshest spotlight. Their story tells us that love does not need grand declarations to be real. Sometimes it lives in silence, in small gestures, in the courage to simply be true to one another. And in that authenticity, they have given millions a reason to believe again. In representation, in courage, in the possibility that love itself is the most powerful revolution of all. So perhaps the true ending is not an ending at all. It is an opening. To more stories of women who dare to love, to more voices that deserve to be heard, and to a future where love in every form can stand tall without fear. If this story touched you, don't just keep it in your heart, share it, talk about it, and let it remind you that your truth also deserves to be lived openly. Because every act of love, no matter how quiet, can inspire change. And now I want to hear from you. What did you feel while watching this journey? And which country are you tuning in from? Drop a comment below, and let's see how far Faye and Yoko's story has traveled across the world. Wait, two supporting actors. Suddenly the world can't stop talking about them. Milk and Love, are they just acting, or are they? In this video, we explore how two forgotten names became iconic, mysterious, and maybe even culturally transformative. Watch until the end, because once you've witnessed their story, you won't look at them the same way again. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss our next stories. Milk Love, are they just an on-screen couple, or are they hiding something much bigger? It's a question that echoes throughout fandoms, forums, and late-night chats. A question so powerful that it can turn casual viewers into devoted fans. Because Milk and Love are more than just a couple. They're an unsolved puzzle. From the moment they first appeared together, there was something different. No noise, no drama. Just a subtle change, so fragile that it could be gone in a flash. A look that lingered for too long. A smile that seemed too natural to be planned. A kind of quiet chemistry that drew you closer without you even realizing it. And maybe that's why people couldn't look away. Because in a world filled with spectacle and loud love stories, Milk and Love found each other in silence. And sometimes, silence is more powerful than anything else. Of course, in 23.5 Degrees, their characters only tell one story. But then fan cams, interviews, behind-the-scenes clips come out, and suddenly, another story begins to unfold. Fans can't help but compare, wondering, where does this character end, and where does Milk and Love really begin? Have you ever felt like that? Like the line between the actor and the role is so blurred that you can't tell the difference, because every moment is so real. Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear. And that's the heart of the mystery. No one really knows what Milk Love is. Are they just best friends? A marketing strategy by the producers? Or is there something real being left out, something not being fully revealed? But here's the kicker. Maybe the real mystery isn't them. Maybe it's us. Why are we so drawn in? Why do millions of people from different countries and cultures keep coming back just to see these two together? Where are you watching this from? Thailand? America? Europe? Fans all over the world are united by one simple truth. Milk and Love make us feel. And when a story makes you feel, you can't look away. That's the secret to their appeal. It's not just entertainment, it's emotion, it's connection. Think about their journey. They were never meant to be in the spotlight. They started out as supporting characters, quiet characters in the background, easily overlooked. But somehow, little by little, they rose to prominence, step by step, until one day, almost without anyone noticing, they were no longer just actors. They became the center of the story, the ones who commanded all the attention. And isn't that incredible? How often do supporting characters appear on the big screen? How often do supporting roles make the headlines of an entire generation? So let me ask you this. Did Milk Love come into existence because fans chose to notice them, or were Milk and Love always destined to shine, no matter what? This is where they really shine. Most on-screen couples are easy to define. You can tell what's real from what's scripted, and sooner or later, the spark dies out. But with Milk Love, the opposite happens. The more you watch, the less sure you become. And it's that uncertainty, that beautiful juxtaposition of fact and fiction, that makes them so powerful. It makes us watch, question, wonder. It makes Milk Love more than just two actors on screen. It makes them a living mystery. But here's the big picture. Milk Love is more than just a romance. They've evolved into something much bigger. They've become symbols of change, reflecting a generation hungry for stories that break free of the ordinary. Stories that are real, that live, that dare to be different. That's why people call them the mystery couple. Because they're no longer bound by roles, scripts, or labels. They're defined by what they represent. Ability, authenticity, and a connection that's stronger than words. When you saw Milk and Love together, what was the first emotion that came to your mind? Curiosity? Excitement? Or perhaps disbelief that two people could attract so much attention without ever giving us a clear answer? Some might say it's just good acting. Others would insist there's more to it than that. But the truth is, we'll probably never know for sure. And maybe we don't need to. Because the power of Milk Love lies in the unknown. Moments so real they're hard to tell in a script, yet so subtle they're hard to confirm. And that's why the appeal never fades. Because as long as the riddle remains unsolved, the story continues. So stay with me, because this is just the beginning. In the next part, we will dive deeper into the journey of two actors who started in the shadows to become the brightest phenomenon of their generation. A journey full of challenges, surprises, and legendary moments. And trust me, you won't want to miss it. When Bad Buddy first aired, Milk and Love were minor characters, sidekicks designed to support the main couple's plot. They were there, yes, but they weren't the focus. Their screen time was brief, their lines were simple, their presence was barely background noise. But sometimes, the most extraordinary stories are born in unexpected places. Do you remember the first time you noticed them? Maybe it was a fleeting glance, a smile that lingered for too long, or the way their presence seemed to go beyond what the script called for. That's the magic of chemistry. You can't fake it, you can't create it, and once it's there, you simply can't look away. Fans sensed it almost immediately. Edits started circulating the internet. Timelines were flooded with comments like, "Who are they? How does this feel so real?" Have you ever found yourself falling for a supporting couple, rooting for them even more than the main characters? That weird feeling of wanting the camera to linger on them for a few more seconds? That's exactly what happened to Milk and Love. And slowly, they stopped being the background. They became the talk of the town. This is where the story begins. GMMTV, Thailand's largest TV station, started to notice this. They saw the trending hashtags, the viral clips, and the frenzy from fans, not just in Thailand, but all over the world. In an industry where attention equals opportunity, this was too good to ignore. And suddenly, the unthinkable happened. Two supporting actors who had never been recognized were given something almost unheard of, their own series. 23.5 Degrees, a title that, for many, marked the beginning of change. It was more than just a TV show, it was a signal, a statement, proof that the audience's voice mattered. That sometimes fans don't just watch stories unfold, they shape them, they breathe life into them. So let me ask you, do fans have the power to change the narrative? Because here with 23.5 degrees, they do. Think about Hollywood for a moment. It's like a supporting character in a Marvel movie. Someone who's only supposed to be in a few quick scenes is suddenly given a supporting role. And not just any supporting role, but a supporting role that suddenly becomes a hit, one that surpasses all expectations. That's exactly what Milk and Love's journey was like. A twist that wasn't written into the original script, but was powerful enough to reshape their entire careers. And that's why it's so profound. We've all been there, feeling overlooked, even invisible. But what happens when the world finally sees you? When the spotlight turns to you against your will? That's what their story represents. It's more than just entertainment. It's a reflection of something universal. I'd love to know, where are you watching? Whether you're in Bangkok, New York, São Paulo, or anywhere else, it shows how far this story has come. Isn't it amazing that two actors, once minor characters, are now connecting with audiences across continents? Their rise wasn't just fast, it was explosive. One moment they were background figures, the next their faces were on posters, their names trending, their voices sought in every interview. Fans don't just support them, they celebrate them. Because in Milk and Love, they see more than actors, they see possibility, representation, a new kind of story. Why do some couples shine while others fade? It's not just talent or looks, it's a rare spark. Milk and Love had that, a chemistry that couldn't be faked and couldn't be ignored. GMMTV could have left them behind, but instead, they took a risk. That gamble became a cultural landmark deeper than a TV series. Milk and Love weren't just lucky, they were ready. They shouldered the pressure, proved their worth, and showed that even those who were overlooked could rise above expectations. From supporting roles in Bad Buddy to leading icons in 23.5 degrees, they became more than actors. They symbolized change, possibility, how stars are born in unexpected ways. Stick with me, we'll take a deeper look at how Milk and Love went from rising stars to cultural icons, and why their story has yet to come. It always starts with a whisper. A glimpse, a spark that invites quiet speculation. With Milk and Love, those whispers grow louder. Fans aren't drawn to staged photo shoots or polished interviews. They notice the moments in between. A quiet chuckle from behind a curtain. A steady hand reaching out amid the chaos. A smile that seems natural, unscripted, yet perfectly in sync. As if written not by a script, but by time itself. And soon the headlines started. Speculative articles, photo-slicing blogs, tabloids whispering, "Are Milk and Love just friends?" But every time they were asked, their answers were always the same. Simple, carefully crafted, and maddeningly vague. We're just friends. But if that was the case, why did so much of what we saw feel so unscripted? Why did their candid moments play out like scenes from a romantic comedy we weren't supposed to see? Tell me, viewers, have you ever looked at two people and thought, there's something, even when they denied it? That's the heart of the Milk-Love mystery. This ambiguity, their refusal to define themselves, became a storyline in itself. A real-life series where every interaction felt like a whole new episode. Fans became detectives, hunting for clues, a mischievous glance during a performance, a quiet moment backstage when they leaned a little too close, a gesture so tender it felt like a secret kept between the two of them. And let's be honest, aren't we all drawn to stories like this? The kind where you can't tell if it's friendship, love, or something beautiful in between. But here's the thing, in the world of showbiz, silence is more powerful than words. And Milk and Love's silence has become the most powerful statement of all. Every time they refuse to confirm or deny, they invite the audience's imagination. And imagination, as we know, is much more powerful than any press release. What do you think? Is this a deliberate strategy, a way to keep their brand alive? Or is it protection, hiding something real from the glare of fame? Perhaps the truth lies in the way they move when they think no one is looking. Fans have caught them traveling together, eating next to each other, whispering at events when they could easily keep their distance. If this is just friendship, it is a friendship wrapped in an intimacy that makes even strangers stop and think. And perhaps that is why the attraction is so strong. Because what Milk Love offers is not a neatly wrapped love story. It is a puzzle. And don't we all love puzzles? Think about your own life. Have you ever had a connection that you kept hidden, not because it wasn't real, but because it was too precious to expose? Could Milk and Love be doing the same thing, protecting something fragile in a world that demands answers? The beauty of this mystery is how it transcends the confines of their script. Milk Love blurs the line between fiction and reality. On screen, they are couples written by storytellers. Off-screen, they become the creators of their own unscripted series, one that fans around the world follow, episode by episode, frame by frame. And that's exactly what makes it so compelling. The story doesn't need confirmation to be real. The tension, the uncertainty, the endless what-ifs, that's the heartbeat of fandom. After all, isn't that the reason we keep watching in the first place? Imagine, if they stood in front of the camera tomorrow and said, "Yeah, we're meant to be together," would you feel satisfied? Or would that take away the magic that's kept us hooked for so long? The paradox here is that it's the unanswered questions that keep this story alive. Milk and Love may never reveal the truth, but in their silence, they've given fans room to imagine. Every smile feels like a possibility. Every touch feels like a question. Every denial feels like an open ending. And in doing so, they've created more than a romance. They've created an icon that straddles the line between just friends and something more. So, what do you believe? Are we just projecting our own expectations onto them? Or is there an untold story unfolding before our eyes? Whatever the truth, one thing is certain. The Milk Love story is just beginning. And it's this uncertainty, this carefully guarded mystery, that has not only shaped their career, but also changed the way fans experience love stories in today's world. So let's dig deeper and see how this phenomenon continues to unfold. Every movement has its own milestones. In the story of Thai Girls' Love, two names shine from the very beginning. Freen and Becky, bold, fearless pioneers who took the genre beyond Thailand. They were more than just actors. They became ambassadors, breaking language barriers and uniting the global community. Then there are Angfa and Charlotte, true queens, majestic and commanding. They didn't just dominate their home theater, they completely owned it, turning local screens into arenas of glory. But history is never written by just one or two people. There is always another page waiting to be turned, and that next page belonged to Milk and Love. At first glance, they did not seem like obvious successors, sidekicks, quiet characters lingering on the sidelines while the spotlight was elsewhere. But then, slowly, almost invisibly, they began to win over audiences. Not with fireworks, not with noise, but with something far more enduring, a gentle presence, a sincerity that could not be hidden, and a sweetness so genuine it could not be expressed on stage. In a world that often confuses loudness with power, sometimes it's the quiet ones who endure the longest. So let me ask you, are true icons built on show or on sincerity? This is the genius of GMMTV's approach. Freen Becky opens the door internationally, Anglot solidifies the genre at home. But what happens after that? How do you ensure the story continues? That's where Milk Love comes in. It's not a short-term gamble, it's a long-term investment. They're not pushed onto a pedestal overnight. They're nurtured carefully, step by step, like an artist sketching a masterpiece in pencil before committing to it. Milk and Love represent a completely different nature. If Freen and Becky are pioneers, and Engfa and Charlotte reign as queens, then Milk and Love conquer hearts as friends. Their strength lies in their closeness, not their grandeur. They don't stand above you, they sit beside you, reminding us that love doesn't have to be loud to be real. That is the essence of the Milk Love story, sweet, pure, and utterly intimate. They are not the bright neon lights of a crowded nightclub, but the soft glow of a midnight lamp. They are not the rumble of thunder, but the gentle rhythm of rain falling on a window. They represent a quiet wave, a wave that is not overwhelmed by noise, but still filled with warmth, gentleness, and peace. And in that sense, they remind me of Taylor Swift in her younger years. Before the stadium tours, before she became a global superstar, Taylor was just a girl with a guitar, singing about heartbreak, heartache, and hope. She wasn't trying to be the loudest, she was trying to be the most real. And people responded, not because the songs were perfect, but because they were real. Milk and Love are the same. Not too flashy, but not to be missed. Their strength lies not in extravagance, but in resonance. They don't force connection, they let it grow naturally. And perhaps that's why fans no longer see them as just an on-screen couple, but as icons. Gentle reminders that even the simplest expressions of love can be powerful. But this begs the question. In today's world, so saturated with noise, fleeting trends, and endless scrolling, has authenticity become the rarest of all treasures? It's that rarity that makes Milk Love special. They don't follow the same mold as previous couples. They make you pay more attention, look closer, wonder about layers you never saw. That's why they're called the mystery couple. Not because they're aloof, but because they're subtle. They let the audience fill in the gaps, and in doing so, make the story your own. And isn't that the secret of the best stories? That they don't just tell you how they feel. They make you part of the journey. Fans don't just watch Milk and Love, they invest in them. They invest in their growth, their chemistry, and how their careers are built to last. That's the hallmark of GMMTV's vision. It's not just about casting, it's about crafting, shaping not just stars, but icons for a new generation. A new chapter where gentleness, humility, and quiet strength take center stage. This is that Milk and Love are creating. They don't need to compete with those who came before them. They just need to be themselves. And with that sincerity, they have created a space that no one else can match. As we watch their rise, one question remains. Will this quiet movement become the most enduring of all? Because the truth is, Milk and Love may not shine like the brightest stars in the sky, but their light is something that lasts, gentle, steady, and unforgettable, long after the storm has passed. And with that, we come to the next part of the story. Beyond the industry strategy, beyond the labels and titles, lies the most fascinating thing, the bond between Milk and Love. A bond that may be the key to understanding why this duo, once side characters, became the couple everyone couldn't stop talking about. They were no longer just entertainers. At some point in their journey, Milk and Love crossed an invisible line. From being stars on the big screen to being symbols of something much bigger. And that's where the story gets really interesting, because when you talk about their impact, you're not just talking about a couple of actors. You're talking about a cultural shift, a movement, a spark that touched the hearts of people who had waited their entire lives for recognition. First, think about the younger generation. For so many LGBT youth, growing up means struggling with silence, invisibility, or worse, rejection. But then Milk Love came along. Two women who dared to bring tenderness, inclusivity, and authenticity to a world where love stories like theirs were once hidden in the shadows. Suddenly, these young audiences weren't just seeing characters, they were seeing themselves. And isn't that one of the most powerful gifts any story can give? Do you remember the first time you were portrayed on screen? The moment you realized your story, your identity, your love was worth telling? For thousands of young fans, Milk and Love became that moment. Their message was simple yet powerful. Your love is beautiful. Your love deserves to be celebrated. But the impact wasn't just limited to young audiences, it was much broader. Society itself was starting to take notice. For years, there had been an unspoken belief in Thai entertainment that the stories of girls of great love would never make it into the mainstream, that they would remain hidden in the shadows of the fandom. Milk and Love shattered that notion. They weren't just an on-screen couple, they were a phenomenon. Their series attracted huge viewership. Their faces were on magazines, billboards, even international campaigns. And suddenly, producers, TV channels, and sponsors had to face the truth. Girls' Love was no longer silent. It had established itself in the heart of mainstream culture. Here's something to think about. How often does the entertainment industry truly break decades-old molds? How often do two young actors rewrite the narrative of an entire industry? That's the weight Milk and Love carry. And the grace with which they carry it only makes them all the more unforgettable. Now, let's expand the perspective even further. Beyond Thailand, beyond Asia, let's talk global. Because Milk and Love aren't just beloved local acts, they became cultural ambassadors. Concerts, fan meets, international tours where fans from different countries came and waved rainbow flags with pride. Imagine that moment. A packed arena, bright lights, loud cheers, and in the crowd, you see fans proudly holding up rainbow flags. For them, it wasn't just about meeting Milk and Love. It was about being part of a community, about saying, we exist, we're proud, and we're in this together. Even Teen Vogue in the US interviewed them, calling Milk and Love the voice of a new generation. In that article, they shared how the love, courage and support of their fans helped them break stereotypes and bring authentic queerness to the world stage. So let me ask you this. If you were to attend one of those fan meetings, surrounded by thousands of people sharing love and hope, how would you feel? Empowered? Emotional? Even healed? That's the kind of power we're talking about here. Milk Love didn't just perform on stage. They created safe spaces. They turned fan gatherings into something more, into celebrations of identity, love, and togetherness. But it goes deeper than that. Through their influence, Milk and Love have also become soft power ambassadors. They've taken GL stories beyond national borders, representing a new wave of Asian culture, where LGBT love is not only recognized but celebrated. Their presence has reminded the world that the Thai entertainment industry is not afraid to innovate, to embrace change, to redefine love stories. But with every wave of change comes responsibility. Milk and Love are symbols for millions, and symbols carry weight. How can they inspire without losing themselves? It's the challenge every cultural icon faces. We've seen their impact on fans, on society, on the world. But asks a deeper question. What happens when you become extraordinary in the eyes of your fans? What happens when you become timeless? Stay tuned. This is a story you won't want to miss. At first, they appeared on screen as if they were just supporting characters, background faces. Expectations were low, and yet, here we are, talking about them, looking for them, feeling something from them. Milk and Love, two names that now resonate more than the projects that introduced them. After all the laughs, the tears, the countless moments, and the chemistry so real it seemed to flow off the screen, we are still left wondering, Milk Love, are they simply a couple, or is it more? Are they not just actors, but symbols of love itself? Think about it. Every generation has its icons, not just performers, but people who represent something bigger, something that is untouchable, something that changes the way we see the world. Will Milk and Love become icons for a new wave of fans? For a community looking for a reflection of themselves? Stop and ask yourself, what does watching them together mean to you? Is it simply entertainment? Or is it a feeling of being seen, understood, and connected? Because whether Milk and Love were a real-life couple or not is almost irrelevant. What matters is undeniable. Their influence is real. Their presence has changed conversations, opened doors, and given courage to countless voices that would otherwise be ignored. And the mystery remains. Off-screen, they remain private. They don't over-explain. They allow the audience to ponder, to imagine, to dream. Some say that's what makes them so compelling. The ambiguity, the gap between reality and fantasy, between two worlds. And maybe that's the mystery. Maybe it's the mystery that keeps the story alive. Do you believe it's the artist's job to reveal everything to the fans? Or is it more powerful to leave questions unanswered? To let the audience write their own ending? When Milk and Love smile on screen, does that smile lose its meaning because we don't know what's going to happen behind the camera? Or does it become more meaningful? Because in that fleeting moment, it belongs not just to them, but to all of us. Their story, or perhaps their journey, is not over. With each project, each glimpse, each photograph, a new page is written. And we, the audience, are always there, hanging on every line, every scene. So I have to ask, will their mystery ever be revealed? Or is it the unknown that makes them unforgettable? Because in the end, what really matters isn't whether Milk and Love are as real as people expect. What matters is the hope they sparked, the conversations they started, the courage they inspired. That's something no rumor, no speculation, no headline can take away. Milk Love is more than just a couple. They are a reminder of how powerful connection can be, that chemistry can transcend a script, that sometimes two people can step into a frame and make history, even if they were just supporting characters at first. And here's what I want you, the viewer, to ponder. When you think of Milk Love, do you see an actor playing a role? Or do you see an embodiment of love, acceptance, and connection? Over time, their influence has transcended the realm of entertainment. They've become icons, lights, beacons for a generation daring to dream bigger, love deeper, and live more freely. Call it fate, coincidence, or simply a remarkable story. But one thing's for sure, Milk Love has risen to iconic status. This mystery will probably never have a final chapter. Maybe it wasn't meant to be. Because some stories don't need to end, they just need to leave a mark. And Milk Love did. So let's go back to the first question, the one that started this journey. Milk Love, are they just a couple, or are they more? Perhaps the truest answer is that they don't need a definition. What matters is undeniable. They gave us stories worth cherishing, emotions that linger, and a kind of courage that goes beyond words. As the screen fades, you see Milk and Love smiling, and imagine the words appearing. They were more than just a couple on screen. They were hope. They were Milk Love. And so I leave you with one final question. Years from now, when you look back on this era, what will Milk Love mean to you? Because maybe their mystery wasn't just about them. It was always about us. And maybe that's the real ending. Not closure, but a feeling that lingers long after the story is told. Their journey reminds us that love, in its purest form, can inspire, connect, and bring hope. If this video touches your heart or stirs something in you, I would love for you to join this community, subscribe, follow, and continue to support for us. There are so many more meaningful stories waiting to be told here, stories that celebrate love, courage, and honesty. Thank you so much for watching. Stay healthy, stay inspired, and I'll see you